Hi, my name is Nina. A lot of you may know me as Flounder's mom from Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, where there are videos of her telling me that there's a stranger that needs help, that her mouse toy needs pets, her mouse toy has ouch, a variety of different things. She just recently went viral for telling me that she had a belly ouch and then vomited. Talking buttons have been a tremendous help in our relationship and our bond. And I want to take what I've learned from working with Flounder and pass it on to you so that you can help the bond with your pet as well. Flounder is up to about 80 buttons right now and still learning and still growing her board. So I feel like I have a lot to share with you guys to help you in your journeys as well. A lot of people have asked in the comments of our videos about which buttons we use. Flounder and I use Fluent Pet. There's a link in the description. And I love them because they're smaller, so they're easier for her to press. For her being an 8-pound cat, I started out with the larger buttons and they were really difficult for her to press. So once I found Fluent Pet, she began pressing a lot faster because it was a lot easier for her just because of the size of the buttons. It also takes up a lot less space in my house. Not that that is an issue, particularly for me right now, but the more buttons we add, the more I'm kind of worried about space. So another reason I chose Fluent Pet was because I use the Fluent Pet Connect buttons and they have a speaker. The sound is amazing on this speaker. The initial bigger buttons that I was using the sound was really muffled and really low, and I had a hard time hearing it. And because of that, I missed a lot of her first presses, and that held us back from learning a lot. So I definitely recommend, if you're going with Fluent Pet, to go with the Connect buttons or the Speak Up buttons, because the sound on them is a lot better, especially if you have the buttons in an open space where it can be difficult to hear them when you're in other rooms. The other thing I like is that they have hex tiles. So the buttons stay in place using these hex tiles, and they are color coordinated. Mostly that's for us, right? Not necessarily for the pets, although they can see different shades of things. But the color coordination also helps to organize them into categories. This is based on the Fitzgerald key, which makes it easier for the pets to learn where the buttons are located on their board based on the category that they're in. So for example, subjects, all the subjects would be on one board. All the nouns or objects would be on another board. Action words are on a different board. Social words are on a different color. So it really does help both her and me in the learning process to have them organized in that way. Choosing which buttons to start with is always a big question that I get asked. It's not typically that difficult to choose. You know your pet better than anybody else. So choosing a button or 2 buttons to start with, I would definitely recommend starting with 2 over 1. And that's so that they have some sort of comparison and they understand or comprehend that you are introducing a language, not just a button for a thing. That can get confused if you just add the 1 button. Some people start with 3, but it really is up to you and your pet. The 2 most popular words that people start with are play and outside. And while those can be used mostly for dogs, I would feel like, because dogs go outside, those are the 2 words I also started with Flounder because she goes outside as well. You want to pick words that are very motivating to your pets so that they're motivated to actually press the buttons. So we started with play and outside, and I had them in the locations where she would go. So outside I had that button next to the door. The play button I had next to her play drawer. I keep her toys in a drawer because she destroys them. So I had the play button next to her play drawer where all of her toys are. So she started to learn that when she pressed the play button, that drawer, I would open it and we would play. And when she pressed the outside button, we would go outside. The way that she learned this was because I would model. And modeling is when you press the button, you say the word, and then you do the thing. So I would say outside, press the outside button, and then we would go outside. And then when we came back in, I would press the outside button, say outside, and then I would say all done. And that kind of introduces the idea that the thing that you wanted that we did is now all done. Introducing the all done concept early on, I would definitely recommend, so that you're not getting spammed constantly when your pet is first learning. I guess the alternative thing that you need to think about when choosing buttons to start with is you don't want them to be so motivating that they're just going to sit there and press the button constantly. I would definitely avoid a food or treat button because those are way too motivating for a lot of pets. But again, you're the one who knows your pet better than anybody else. So you know what motivates them just enough to start getting them to press. So that is how you can choose which buttons to start with. After consistent modeling, your pet may start to press the buttons on their own. It may take a few days, it may take a few weeks, it may take a month. It just really depends on your learner and how motivated they are to learn and to press the buttons. Some pets need to learn paw targeting first. I do have a paw targeting video, I'll link it in the description, which helps them to understand that they have to press it with their paw. Some pets are nose boopers, so they'll start off with the nose boop. Putting the buttons on the wall, there's nothing wrong with that. I actually started with my buttons on the wall and moved them to the floor because Flounder's short, so there's not enough space on our wall for all the buttons that I wanted to have or introduce later on. So I did move it to the floor after I got her paw target trained. But once they start to press on their own, it may not look like Flounder's videos on social media where she's intentionally pressing at first. It may be an accident. It may be them sitting on the buttons, rolling on the buttons, rubbing the buttons with their face. Whatever happens, if they press that button, even if it's accidentally, you want to respond to that press as if it were intentional. This helps them learn that, oh, I did press that. Even if I didn't mean to, I pressed that, and this was the consequence of that, so that they start to associate the button press with the action that is on the button. If they press a button that they didn't mean to press at the beginning or at any time when you're teaching them communication, it's important for you to respond to that button based on the button that they pressed, not the button that they meant to press, because they're building the association that that word means that thing. So if, for example, if your pet presses the play button and then walks over to the door and clearly wants to go outside, they meant to press the outside button. Don't take them outside, you play with them first. So get a toy out and play because they pressed the play button. You can go outside shortly after that. Don't withhold anything from them, obviously. Definitely don't withhold food or water, but it's a good way to keep them learning. So definitely if they press the play button and then go to the door, they want to outside, get the toy out for a few minutes, play with the toy. They're not going to want to play probably because they want to go outside, and then take them outside afterwards. Model outside, make sure that they understand that that's what that meant. And then they'll start to understand that, oh, I pressed the wrong button and I got the wrong thing. So then they're going to start to understand that the words that they press mean something, and they have to be careful about which words they press because it does matter. Once your pets are pressing the buttons on their own and they have a solid understanding of what those buttons mean, you've done so much modeling and they understand now and they're pressing, then it's time to move the buttons onto the soundboard. This is like graduation day. So the soundboard should be placed somewhere in the house where you can hear it easily, somewhere you spend quite a bit of time, somewhere where your pet spends time. I would imagine for most pets, they spend time with you. So if you spend a lot of time in the living room or in the kitchen, that's probably ideal for a lot of people. If you spend a lot of time in a bedroom or in the basement, then that's ideal for some people. It's really based on you and how you live in your house and where the best location would be for them and you to get the most out of the communication. I wouldn't recommend anywhere like a bathroom where you're not going to be there very long for long periods of time, because then you're not going to be using the buttons quite as much. They do like to make eye contact with you. Flounder likes to, a lot of you probably already know this from watching our videos, Flounder likes to yell a lot, so she likes to make sure that she's heard. She will sometimes talk to me when she's in a different room, but that's very, very rare. So I do try to have the buttons around. I work from home, so I try to have the buttons around where I work in the home office, so that she has access to me, to scream at me, and the buttons all at the same time. Another thing to consider is that the pets learn where the location of the buttons are on the board based on location. That's how they know where their buttons are. So like if the play button is here and the outside button is here, they're gonna know that this is the play button and this is the outside button because of location. So keep that in mind when you're setting up the board as well. You want it to change the least amount of times as possible. It's going to change as you add things to it. My board has changed several times, and every time Flounder gets pretty upset about it because she can't find which button she wants to say or wants to press. So it does take a bit of time. Just keep that in mind when you transition to the soundboard, and give them some time for adjustment, because sometimes it takes a while. And Flounder, whenever I make a change to the board, she won't use it for a day or two, because she's just mad at me and she's frustrated. So she won't even use it for a day or two. So expect that too, because sometimes they'll get so frustrated that they just don't want to use it. But yeah, trying to keep the board as much as possible the same throughout the growing process is really going to be helpful for them. Once you've added your buttons to the soundboard so they're in one centralized location, and they are pressing because they know where they are right now, and they're pressing on their own, and you've been modeling, it's time to add new words. And adding new words is so much fun. So the next ones that I added were now, later, and all done. All done, although it is a concept, I introduced it very early on into the process, like I said earlier. So Flounder did understand that all done meant that the thing was all done. Another one that I added fairly early on was ballet school. So ballet school is her training session. I'm sure if you follow us on social media, you've seen her do her ballet school. But it's important to introduce words that are easier to model and easier to use at the beginning. More if you're introducing concepts that they can learn easily or pick up on pretty quickly. So now, later is obviously pretty easy to teach. It's conceptual, so context is how you teach it. Play now, outside now, outside later, and it is okay to tell them later and then do the thing later. I get asked a lot when introducing later, what does that mean? Does that mean like 15 minutes, 10 minutes? It's really up to you. I wouldn't wait too long, because they're going to forget that they wanted that thing in the first place, especially at the beginning. Saying all done is one of the best things you could use when you're teaching buttons, because especially if you have a real talker like Flounder, the all done button was a great button to start with at the beginning, because she understood that when I said all done, that we were all done for now, and she would give me a break. So I do recommend, if you have a really chatty pet, to start with an all done button at the beginning, not at the very beginning, but towards the beginning steps. As far as introducing other concepts like emotions, and ugh, and ouch, sick, help, things like that, there's a lot to say about it. So I do have a course on augmentive interspecies communication. Link is in the description. For those of you who are looking to delve deeper into button training or teaching with your learner. I hope this video helped you get started. I know it's a lot. You don't have to be an animal behaviorist to teach your buttons, or to teach your pets to use buttons. You just have to be patient and use good communication, be persistent, and model. Don't ever give up on your pets. Just keep modeling more if they're not getting it right away. But I hope this helped you. It is such a rewarding process, and I hope to work with you guys in the future.